Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of y'all, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. Although this message in the beginning will not sound like it's very important because it's going to be about a grudge. Now, this one's not about the YouTube beef between Bossy and EU's camp versus Mrs. Golden and MRM's camp. It's not about the grudge in between Fran and Smiles. Although I'm aware of that grudge, this is not about theirs. This is about BSIA, whose YouTube name is, the full YouTube name is Black Skin is Amazing. And his grudge against the men of the Goldensphere. I'm aware that in the past, actual white supremacists made comparisons between black folks and non-human primates. These comparisons were not accurate, true, nor were they funny. These comparisons were all around wrong. I'm aware of that. I'm aware that we are in fact related to the men whose virtues BSIA sings oftentimes, frequently, every day. They do form our ancestry naturally. I'm also aware that we can form theirs. My son is darker than I am. Some would say, yeah, but you had help. Yeah, well, still, I am his father. So the point I'm making is that while his point is valid, it just runs both ways. It's a two-way street. I'm aware of a lot of the counter arguments. What I want to point out are his arguments that are not always fair. And I'm going to do justice and credit as best I can to both sides. He has a valid point if he can prove these things, and I don't have proof or disproof of some things he said, but Carl Williams did not get on his live stream drunk. Carl Williams got on his live stream after having a drink. I am not allowed to do so, and I'm not allowed to endorse a sip, a cup, nor a bottle of any alcoholic beverage. But I'm also wrong if I sit up and say he got on drunk. Carl was not talking about BSIA's color when he said taking his shirt off, acting like an animal, and I'm just going to say it, looking like one too. That wasn't about BSIA's color. Truth be told, although I'm not ugly, and I thank God that I'm not, I do have a bit of a resemblance to a gorilla. That's because I'm human. Most human beings have some sort of other primate resemblance, regardless of their origin. That's the truth of the matter. A lot of monkeys don't look much different. A lot of apes don't look much different from people, and people don't look much different from monkeys and apes. It's just similar sequences of DNA. Anyway, that being said, acting like an animal and Carl saying that he was looking like one too had to do with something else. Flirting with a married woman, trying your best to flirt with a woman that has identified herself as married, and doing so just to flex on a either MLS or non-black man is problematic. We don't say this, neither Carl nor I will say this, because we have a loyalty to EU and she doesn't owe us any loyalty, and I'm sure she would agree because in actuality it was not so much her that was really digging into Carl on that live stream, but it was that she didn't seem to care much about others digging in. I don't necessarily hold that against her, but we don't rock with who she rocks with. So when we say this, it's not about some loyalty to EU. It's about just the moral principle in general. Why did you do it? Did you do it because her husband has no black admixture, or did you do it specifically because her husband is not an unambiguous dark-skinned brother? What was the reason? You've never seen her. Why would you expose your shirt and your muscles to her on camera in front of the public when she has shown nothing to you? You see, frankly, sir, that is debasing, self-abasing. She would not do this for you. And this is really the core of what I've been saying in terms of my red pill content, that these women are not going to do for you what you would do for them. They're going to insist, if you allow them, they're going to insist on taking a lot and giving hardly anything at all when you're dealing with the West. Not even because they're just naturally evil. That's not why, but they're trained. This goes along with the training. Men don't deserve much. Somebody actually explained to me that that's actually truly how she views men. And that's one of the ladies with whom EU rocks with that we don't. But the comparison, although I would not have made such a comparison, the comparison between BSIA and non-human species on the part of Carl Williams was not based on race or color. That's not what does it. And as a matter of fact, when most non-human primates lose their fur, the skin underneath is either gray, pink, or white in many cases. Only one species, as far as I'm aware, of great apes has black skin if their hair falls out. Not one has 4C hair. None of them do. Not one has fully developed lips. And so therefore, in reality, it's not easy for anybody to really and truly conclusively draw a comparison between our race under the whole umbrella that is considered to be our race. And BSIA would say that we are the same race. It's not possible for somebody to conclusively, without looking like a fool, compare specifically the black race to non-human species, let alone non-human primates. I'm sorry, to non-human primates, let alone to any other non-human species. That's something white supremacists do, and oftentimes they're the lowest IQ ones that do this. So in that regard, maybe BSIA really believed that that's what called men, but everybody knows that wouldn't fly. I know that that wouldn't fly if we wanted to do it, and we don't. Carl knows that that wouldn't fly if we wanted to do it, and we don't. This was about a low moral stance. Now, this is something that BSIA said that he did. Taking his shirt off and flirting with EU, flirting with a married woman. He said he did that. So even though I didn't see that upload or that live stream or the playback, that's something that he said he did, and so that's why I'm going to assume he did it. I do not know the link or the timestamp to wherever it is that Caesar Cannon supposedly got on his live stream and cussed out his mother. If Mr. Cannon actually did it, I can't justify cussing out the man's mother unless Mr. Cannon and his mother had a prior argument and she had done the same to him. But I haven't seen him do it, and Mr. Cannon has not said that he did so as far as I've heard yet. He's uploaded one other video that I have not yet seen, but because I haven't seen it, I'm not aware yet of any confession on the part of Mr. Cannon. And that's why I'm not going to go in depth about that. And this is the other thing. And this is the ultimate thing. BSIA has said he told someone that he's doing this for likes and views. And that means that this is a joke to him. It's a game to him. This is full-time trolling for him. Let me remind you, BSIA, if you want to do this as trolling, as jokes, as a game, just come out and say in writing underneath in your about in your community tab or underneath the videos. This is jokes. This is trolling. And then people who have some free time, when they got free time, can get with you and y'all can joke and troll at each other's expense. But a lot of this discussion about colorism came from dumb stuff like this. People that weren't even really serious, talking like they're serious, not making it clear they're joking, and leading to other folks getting hyped up, thinking this was real, and feeling perfectly okay and justified in insulting even their own relatives for a phenotype. This stuff really is divisive. 2015, there were a few jokes out. Light skins versus dark skins breaking up, proposing marriage, playing baseball, getting a job. And these were supposedly jokes about an issue that really did take place at one point. But as far as not understood, matter of fact, I'd say by 2008, colorism amongst Black Americans was becoming a historical fact, but a dead issue. Or a historical issue that was no longer the same as what it used to be. In other words, Black folk would get over being stupid and color struck. That's what it seemed to be the case to me. Granted, I was an adult. Maybe the kids were talking about it and I didn't know. But 2015, I saw the jokes and I was like, okay, these are jokes. I just wish that these skit makers who had a lot of talent would just say, these are jokes. Guess what happened? 2017, I became aware of an actual discussion about this that was being started by maybe one ADOS and definitely two non-ADOS sisters, but they were not discussing this with their own culturally distinct subsets of black people. They were discussing this specifically in an ADOS context because they couldn't bring up these discussions to their own men. And that they restarted this grudge and conflict in between the women, which in turn spilled over into male spaces. All because they didn't want to bring a serious conversation to their own people, and now even further, you've contributed to it because you want views and likes, failing to understand that previous people that weren't serious or that weren't about to take this to where it needed to be discussed, restarted this, resurrected the toxicity of it. Not the historical discussion to make sure we remained historically accurate in our knowledge, but they resurrected the toxicity of it. And now it's having real life repercussions, and we're facing this in real life. My daughter, 2018, had to face this. My youngest one. My other daughter, summer 2020, about the fall of 2019, she had to face this. That's what wound up being the case. Because y'all thought this stuff was funny. It's jokes, likes, and views. You don't understand that the reason why Caesar, Carl, MRM, Golden, maybe Smiles too, are serious is because of dumb stuff like what you done said, what others done said, even when y'all aren't serious. If you know that in real life it's not really a big deal, and that men ain't supposed to be fighting over this for real, especially when they're already related, like you have pointed out, then you should not be saying stuff like, well, Steph Curry, he's got that shine. When Caesar is saying that MLS men ain't getting no shine outside of celebrities, then you shouldn't be fixing your mouth to say, oh, no, see, he get all the shine right now. Then turn around later on in another video and say he got it from DS men. Only he ain't having it in him himself, even though he was born to Del Curry, who ain't the darkest man on the planet himself. And always trying to associate black masculinity only with a particular phenotype. Man, don't get it up, fuck. And if you know this stuff is dumb and a joke, at least have the decency to say it's a joke, because you know they got stupid people out there that listen, get themselves all worked up and hyped up, and then go do something dumb in real life. And understand, when somebody looks and decides, well, you know what, I'm going to go and test me a MLS man today or a yellow N-word today, understand that when they decide that this is what they're going to do, it doesn't always mean that it's going to be the MLS man that walks away with the most injuries. That's no guarantee, sir. Because you know we're not allowed to be soft. Hell, half the time we ain't allowed to even try to talk our way out of fights. You know that. We go talking our way out of fights, and it's a major problem. Oh, you scared. You a B-word. You talk your way out of a fight because you don't feel like fighting with your own kind, which is okay. Understandable if you're about that race loyalty. And somebody could say, yeah, man, you try to handle that like an adult. And now that was a manly thing to do. It was a mature thing to do. And then let somebody like Carl or Mr. Cannon or me. And by the way, there's somebody in the Goldensphere that knows that I didn't lie about my description. Just thought I'd throw that out there. And he doesn't have to come out and say who he is that knows. It's not his responsibility. But if it becomes a question, there's somebody that has seen. Saw me cam up behind the scenes and then heard me speak and saw me speak on camera to make sure that that was my voice. So I'm just letting y'all know that that's the case. Now, in any case, let one of us talk our way out of a fight. And even if the aggressive says, you know what, that's right, you right, man, peace, others are going to come along, yeah, man, you wasn't trying to fight. The same people, and you know this, BSIA, because even if you just trolling and this is jokes for you, you know that you got audience members that are going to be highly intelligent. You got audience members that are going to be completely stuck on stupid. And even your intelligent ones, if you don't say you joking, aren't going to assume you joking. And they may be still dumb enough to believe that we are part of the global pattern of colorism that would justify black annoyance. Black annoyance being the black paranoia that many of us feel with regard to everybody that's not us. Anyone that's on average lighter than us. That's what I mean when I say black annoyance, which could be justified sometimes. But you will turn around here and take a just sentiment and then exaggerate it again. When in fact, remember, in the United States, MLS people are not the problem, and we ain't been. MLS people are not walking around trying to sell out the rest of the race and trying to help Massa put us back in bondage. And every time they come up with something, we ain't behind it. I shouldn't, according to you and according to what I was raised to believe, I shouldn't even have to sit up here and discuss this in terms of you and we. But I'm forced to. And the sad thing is, you don't even believe this stuff really in your core based on what you told someone. You're not even dumb enough to believe it according to what you told someone else. Think about that, to what you told someone else. You're not dumb enough to believe these things. But now, because 3 light-skinned men have taken up issue, well, yeah, 3, me, Carl, and JT Hellstrom, and you got a grudge with Caesar, the history of which I've not yet witnessed, you now have resorted to categorizing MLS men as being in their feelings. Don't forget, man, in the 90s, a lot of this stuff was jokes, at least between adults. Now, we were kids or teens back then, but a lot of this stuff was jokes between adults. I remember comedian Laugh Love, look at that, man, light-skinned brother, he hating on me, man, he hating on me. But these were comedy shows. These were jokes, and now it's becoming serious in the real world because folks like you who don't even believe that we are inferior or superior, and rightly don't believe in this sort of thing, decide to suspend their adult intellect for likes and views and maybe extra money if you've monetized your channel, which I don't know. Now, if you've monetized your channel and you're doing this for extra money, that's bad enough. Because what you're saying is that not just appreciating how God made you, but More importantly, even the extent of degrading someone else and making jokes about them, or telling them to stay in the family, stay in the house, but take the back seat. No, you part the family, you really can't go nowhere, but you're gonna always have whatever bunk bed you don't want. We the real men, you our derivative, you ain't the authentic real thing, but stay put. You know, that's the extent, that's similar to telling somebody, hey man, I want you to stand underneath that basketball goal so I can dunk on you and flex on these hoes right quick. Hey man, I want you to be goalie for the opposite team, and then I'm gonna kick a ball in the goal and you miss so I can flex on these hoes right quick. That's what it sounds like, man. And you are willing to say, if you're doing this for money, on one hand it's bad enough because you're willing to sit up and diss your own admitted relatives and tell them to be okay with it so that you can get money. But if you're not even monetizing your channel, that makes it even worse. That means you will do this for something as simple as entertainment. Not even to make $1, but just so that people will like you and find you entertaining. And meanwhile, in the real world, we got to deal with this. Fortunately, as adults, we don't have to deal with this a lot. But what I'm beginning to see, even when I look back on my last 4 visits to my last 5 visits to the States, I can see it. Now I can see what the results have been. 2018. An old lady saying to my youngest daughter, who was too young to even understand this, I know you don't want to stand too close to me, baby, because of my color. I turn around and see who was talking like this, and were they talking to me or my daughter? Turns out she's looking at my daughter, and she looks like my daughter's maternal grandmother, which is why my daughter was staring at her. She wanted to stand closer, but she knew this was a different woman. That's why she was standing, the lady automatically saw it the other way. I was lucky that conversation turned out to be pleasant in the end when I corrected it. But imagine if it had been someone else. There's going to come a day when someone's going to listen to someone like you, if not you, or maybe you and several others. Those who are joking and trolling, those who are serious, and they get worked up. And they just go off because times are already hard and times are already stressful for a lot of people, and they just go off on a woman or a man. And the thing people don't realize is dealing with MLS men a lot of times, they think, okay, well, it's safe, man, I'm finna just go all off. No, bro, if he's not caught off guard, if he's actually prepared for something like this because, somebody else thought they could do the same thing and someone else before them thought they could do the same thing, that could wind up bad for both. You don't want to know what kind of reflexes I have right now and triggers even to this day. And didn't even know what my shade had to do with them until I was older. And all of this because you don't even believe this stuff, but you just want likes and views. That would explain why somebody your age who had a childhood as good as yours would put out a message that not in one video by itself, but taken in from other videos, taken from a multitude of your videos, shows clearly a pattern. You stay with us, you here, you're a part of us, but you're not the real thing. So you stay here so we can look more original. Stick around, man, because you good for us. You know who else says that? Men who are hyper-selected by women and are not asked to do things like pay bills, provide, protect, problem solve. They're only asked to procreate. Those kinds of men, they say the same thing to the other men that aren't hyper-selected. Why? Because they know that these ladies have real non-sexual needs, and they're not being asked to fulfill them. And they understand that when more of us sit up and say, well, we're being asked to fulfill every non-sexual need and no sexual need, no, we're not doing that. Then, if enough of us start bouncing, everybody can understand, anyone can understand that if enough of us bounced, either psychologically by not approaching or geographically by moving somewhere else, well, we would at least not be asked to pay all to pay all and play none. Then what's going to happen? These ladies are going to have to go to the guys they've allowed to play and say, well, I need someone to help me pay. So instead of going to the guys they don't select for the bedroom fun, they wouldn't turn around and go to the guys that are hyper selective. Well, I let you hit this Why don't you help me with these bills? And you're not going to do that because if it's assuming you're hyper-selected, assuming you're one of those, as you already know, such men are not going to be willing to do that. So they love, because they're winning by comparison, they love to sit up and tell us men to stick around because they know, they get it. If the current 85% that are not hyper-selected check out, either way, form, or fashion, then 85% of that 15% remaining is going to be eliminated. Now, what's 15% of 15%? 2.25%. This is what a lot of these men understand. And that's what you're sounding like to a certain extent. No, light-skinned brother, you my son. Stand over there underneath that basketball goal so I can dunk on you and flex on these hoes. We dominant, we alpha, you not. Well, look, man, if we the same and we come from each other, then what's so undominant and unalpha about us? What are we, wolves? Even the people who studied wolves and coined these terms and these ideas had to change their observations when they examined wolves in their natural element in the wild. Both of them had to. Two biologists had to come to the same erroneous conclusion and then make the same update to their erroneous conclusions. The alpha was in fact the parent. And they were raising their own cubs, which is why these cubs were so-called betas, if you want to call them that. They weren't just inferior wolves, they were the offspring. They were younger, less experienced. They would branch out when they got grown, and then they would start their own families, which were the packs. So if you out in nature and you do come across a wolf pack, and they're probably not going to attack you. We don't have enough calories, to be honest with you. And they know we're dangerous. But if you came across one, chances are they're related. And they know they're related. So when you talk all this stuff about we the alphas, we the kings, we the most manly of all men. Well, let me ask you this. If you expect MLS men, I don't mean if you expect us to agree that you're alpha, but if you expect us to agree that we're beta, you're alpha and we're beta, that you're better than us because you're the source, then why don't you have that same view of non-American black folks? Why don't you look at the non-American black, specifically the ones from the continent, like that, huh? What's the reason? We ADOS males the greatest? No, bro. From what you're saying, from your logic, the African man from the continent must be the greatest since he's the source. Your viewpoint seems to be even less like, and you know what? The fact that you're trolling would explain this, because you're not a dumb person. I mean, you're saying some dumb things, but you don't really seem to suffer from that low intellect, to be honest with you. That explains it. But you need to understand how dangerous that is. It's a joke to you, but there'll be a point where you may wind up getting somebody seriously hurt. You may even get them killed. And the sad thing is you may not even know you got them killed until either somebody comes knocking on your door, either with a lawsuit or an arrest warrant, even if you didn't call for violence. I know you don't call for violence, but even if you didn't call for it, you don't want somebody to just come knocking on your door all of a sudden because of that. Or worse yet, you may not even find out until Judgment Day when you get resurrected out the grave. Butt naked and uncircumcised, just like everybody else is going to be resurrected. My ancestors, me, my descendants, your ancestors, you and your descendants. And you get called up, and in addition to whoever else you worshiped aside from God, the real Lord questions you also about somebody else's life that was ended because of something that you said and you had no clue. I didn't know that happened. Of course, you're going to make that excuse, but suppose he says, but you knew what consequences could have occurred and you were reckless. Even if you don't believe what I'm saying, and if you think that this is hyperbole, maybe it is. But keep in mind, whether you knew it or not, whether you intended any harm or not, what you were doing, and you're not the only one that's doing this, but what you were doing could turn out to be dangerous. It already has with some other people. Look up Kyrie Covington. He went after lighter-skinned women. He got arrested for it. I don't even know if I don't know what his case has been since his arrest. I'm not sure. But look him up. Maybe you could tell me about the updates. Conviction, acquittal, Sentencing, you could tell me more, probably. But I remember his arrest. You see, even without social media and the internet, the stereotypes people would express as though they were outright facts have led to things like this, like people getting their faces scratched up, hair forcibly cut out, fights, jaws broken, bones broken, maybe even deaths. The thing is that now, these ideas are easily traced back to any websites from which they might come. Pray to God that it's not yours one day. Thank you all for listening. Black Heart, Black Mind, Blackout. Assalamu alaikum. Until next time.